going to be the greatest weekend temperature-wise.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah, because
so far 2022.
I'm getting tired of this intermezzo spring thing. Like, could we just get into it?
Yeah, we're going to get a really warm weekend, and that's going to cool off a little bit, but then it looks like we're going to mellow out into the 60s later next week.
I think, off the top of my head, 4 days this week, I bet, at least. When we walked the dog, it was 30-something degrees outside. This is completely unacceptable.
Yep. I'd like to file a complaint with nature's manager.
Yeah.
So anyways, what was happening 2 weeks ago, Paul?
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, I switched from Mint Mobile, which, by the way, I really like overall and is very inexpensive, back to Google Fi, which has the international stuff and is more expensive, basically. Although they have transparent pricing and all that. I like that, blah, 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 whatever. The reason I did that was because of all the spam text and phone call stuff I was getting on Mint Mobile. And I don't have the data on this 100%, but my contention is that there are entities out there that can do spam call and text blocking. Your wireless carrier can do this, for example. Mint Mobile does not. Google Fi does. Your phone could have built-in protection for this. Android does, and iPhone does not, like at all. Like it's ridiculous how little it has. In fact, it's just bizarre. If you have a Google Pixel phone, or certain phones, like maybe Samsung does something like this too, I don't know. But I know in the case of Google Pixel, they have enhanced call and spam blocking of some kind, or at least this is my belief. So if I was using like a Google Pixel phone on Google Fi, I would have like 3 layers of protection against this stuff, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Or I believe I would. I would at least have 2 layers of protection. But when you use an iPhone with Mint Mobile, you have like literally 0 layers of protection. There's nothing between you and all the spam. And I now I'm forgetting the exact number, but I believe off the top of my head, in a 2-day period, I got 22 spam phone calls over 2 days. And that was what triggered me finally saying, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's ridiculous. Today is the 2-week mark since I switched back to Google Fi. So the only variable that has changed is the wireless carrier. I'm still using an iPhone, which has nothing built into it to protect me from spam anything. I have not gotten a single spam call or text in that time period. And in 2 weeks. And like I said, maybe I'm off. I'd have to go look it up. I don't remember the exact number, but I believe it was 22 was the high in 2 days before I switched. So
that's a lot.
It's, again, it's anecdotal, I guess, in some ways. But for me, like living this life day to day and dreading, the spam gone. And this was my experience before forever, I guess. Something I never really thought about. And then when I switched to Mint, 2 years earlier, and it was fine because I was mostly using Android phones on it, right? I mean,
I thought the iPhone had something.
There is nothing.
iPhone spam.
I doubt myself very easily. There is nothing on the iPhone. What you can do after the fact is block a number, but of course spammers come from multiple numbers in the same area usually. So,
can you download? I think you can download third-party apps.
Yeah, you could. The one thing they do is if it will silence calls from unknown numbers. So if it's not your contacts, but they still come in, you still have to kind of manually deal with them in some way. Yeah, that's the extent of it. So anyway, just as a data point, I'm going to put this in Ask Paul this morning because this is kind of a fall. I'm not going to write an article about this, but I mean, 2 weeks ago-ish, I wrote an article. Hey, I made this switch again. Here's why. I kind of detailed whatever I just said. And now it's 2 weeks later, and 2 weeks out, we'll see. You never know. I mean, nothing is perfect, but I have to say the last 2 weeks, my God, compared to the 2 weeks prior, it's night and day. So it's more expensive. I guess you pay for it, but.
Yeah, I guess Mint's got it. I'm sure that cost Google something somewhere along the way, and Mint is the...
Yeah, no, and all the major carriers do this. Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile all do it. The fact that, Mint is latching on to T-Mobile like one of those little eel things that latch onto sharks and just kind of, eating its garbage. Mint is like kind of a second rate in that sense. So they're piggybacking on top of T-Mobile. It's possible you might get like a worse network connection if it's congestion because you're not really on T-Mobile kind of thing, whatever. I never had any problems like along those lines, but this is a curious omission. And Mint, like a lot of companies, like this happens, like Wall Street Journal has happened, Bloomberg this happened. Really easy to start an account. HBO Max does this, I think.
Yep.
But when you leave, you get a call and talk to a human being. You know, it's like the dumbest process. And when I left Mint, actually, this was a chat-based thing. I didn't actually talk to them, but I had to go through a process. Like, I want to leave, you know. They really dragged it out, but they go through the flow chart, you know. And what they wanted, they ask you why you're leaving, and then they try to give you an offer that will make this thing okay. But I said, look, I have two problems. And I knew the two problems were things they just can't fix. They're just not available. One was the spam blocking thing.
Yep.
And the other one was like a viable internet access international internet access plan. Like, I want to use data when I'm in another country, which I hope to be, you know, at some point, as if I'm home. Like, I don't want to be charged extra. I don't want my speed to go down to 2G. I don't want to have to pay, you know, in $10 allotments to a special fund, which is what Mint does. I just want it to work, and that's something Google Fi does both of, and mobile. And the guy at the end of the flowchart was like, "Yep, okay, nice to have you as a customer," you know, because there is no answer to that. They can't fix it.
Yeah, the international one's the hardest for those mobile virtual operators.
Just since we're on this topic, my brother-in-law mentioned this crazy deal that AT&T has right now, which they do. So if you're in the United States and you want to upgrade to a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, which is basically the Note, they're offering like up to $800 trade-ins on like kind of older phones, which is nuts. If you want an iPhone 13 Pro Max, they're offering, I think it's $700, you know, depending on the phone. So really, really good upgrade pricing. So I went and looked at what they do, and you know, AT&T, like the big carriers, like I guess AT&T and Verizon and probably T-Mobile, have I think 117 different plans.
Yes,
and they split them into unlimited, right? Unlimited plans, only one of which is actually even sort of unlimited, and then the other ones are all like not really unlimited. And then they have these like plans that are terrible because, you know, people think they can't afford unlimited, and then they realize what they really want is, anyway, it doesn't matter. But all of those plans, with the exception of the really expensive one, you know, we meter your data if there's congestion. We do support internet. You know, Mexico and Canada is free. It's going to be 2G, and you go through the, you know, the hotspot works, but only up to a certain amount, and it's like all this stuff like Google Fi just does, and it's all perfect, and 4G, 5G, you know, unlimited hotspot, whatever. And it's like every time I don't do this a lot, but when I look at those other things, it's always like, ugh, like this is why I left these companies in the first place. Like, I just can't deal with that stuff.
Yeah. No, I know I've said it many times, and it's one thing did slightly change. So we're in like a old ass Verizon plan. Every time I have to walk into that, I hate going into the Verizon store more than I hate going into the bank. And I already hate going into the bank because there's nothing ever like whatever. They're like, you're on an old plan. I know, because it works for us. Like, we don't whatever. And so for whatever reason, they added rollover data to our account. Didn't cost me
data, so you're just like racking it up month after month.
Yeah, so now my account is now easily into like the 2009 era of Verizon accounts.
You must when you go to the store, the kids who work there must have no idea what you are, and they bring out like Mary out back, this old woman who's been there since the 1900s. And she's like, oh, yeah, I remember this plan. And she has to bring out some paper book.
The carbon copies are what she's pulling out.
Run your credit card on that machine with the thing.
We pay... Yeah. It's like $105 a month for our two lines and my kids watch, and that's taxes and everything included. So it's not super cheap. But they keep trying to they call probably once a quarter and say, look, if you want to upgrade. And it's like, no, like I make them tell me every time now, how much data do I have that I didn't use last month? And like our rollover data is up to like 30 gigs. We use like 2 gigs a month, and we have a 5 gig plan, and it's up to like 30. Like,
if you're not traveling, I mean, at least in my case, like, I mean, obviously back before pandemic, people might have gone in and out of cities and worked, you know, and they were out roaming and stuff. For all the stuff that I do, like, unless I'm traveling, I don't use any data.
Well, it was great, Paul. We did travel, but we went to national parks, and there's no data from anybody. Like, your data is you've got to put a USB drive onto a pigeon, throw it, and hopefully it goes to your hotel. And that's the only data you're getting. I don't know. Anyways,
there must be a legal reason they haven't just ended your plan, because you have to think Verizon would have been like, no, get rid of this. You could give them a 3-month offer on something, just get rid of them. But the fact that they're keeping your plan, like obviously they're trying to entice you off of it, but the fact that they haven't just killed it tells me they must have had language somewhere where something this thing had to be in place for X number of years or something. It's got to be something like that.
And every time we look at it, our plan would go up like $30 to $40 a month. And it's like there's no, and like, well, you'll get a free phone. It's like, I don't like that. We keep our phones at least 3 years now. Like, it's I don't know, whatever. Screw you, Verizon. Stop calling me. Just make my stuff work. Never raise my rates.
Well, look, I A for effort. I understand what you're doing, but no.
Yeah, it's.
So what you're saying? I get a free iPhone, but then I pay $30 more a month for the rest of my life? Okay.
Yeah, like it doesn't. I'm curious what's actually happening with these guys, because they've clearly hit like a saturation point where growth is expensive. Like if they're offering the newest Samsung Galaxy whatever Note phone and you're getting $800 for an older phone, clearly they've realized that getting new subscribers or people to stay in is more expensive.
You might have actually. That might be the reason why they haven't killed your plan, out of the fear that you and people like you would leave, right?
Probably.
Because it's actually really expensive to lose a customer too.
Yeah.
It might be better for them to have this kind of non-optimal plan for them versus you just going to like AT&T or whatever, which is, is now easier to do than ever before, which is, these companies hate.
So I just pulled up our plan. So we pay $40 per line plus the $10 a month for the watch. And then
what's the data on this?
5 gigs. That's 5 gigs a month. That's it. But it rolls over now. Right. I don't know when they did that or whatever. And so our total comes out to, on a monthly basis, $104.38.
I mean, why even roll over?
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
So if you flew to like France or Mexico or something, how does that work? What do you?
I have no idea.
Yeah. My wife has to buy. I feel like I think you do daily roaming now. You probably pay like a $2 to $10 charge per day or something, and you just get data. I think it's something like that.
Actually, I remember. I could probably answer this question.
Yeah.
Because remember when we went to Netherlands, I still had the same plan because I haven't changed the plan ever either.
Yeah.
I have an Android phone with a Google Fi SIM that I reactivate.
Right.
That's what I did.
That's what you right. Well, right. So my wife does what she does. I don't even ask her about it. But I think the cost of it has gone down. And I think that it used to be metered, like you would pay per whatever, like per megabyte back in the day, gigabyte, whatever it is. But I think now she pretty much just to gain access to whatever the capabilities your plan offers you internationally, whether it's France or Mexico, whatever. I think you just pay a flat fee per day. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I could see that.
If you hit some target or something, some number, the fee applies or something.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of phones in Europe, Google, the EU is moving closer to forcing everybody to have USB-C, and I will sit here and say this on the podcast. That'll be my next phone upgrade for iPhone. When it does USB-C, that's what I want.
I think about this all the time. So I'll just play devil's advocate because I might write about this today. I've got a starter article on this topic. I'm not sure if it's worth it, but on the one hand, as a consumer, looking at it from the outside, I would say it's unconscionable that Apple has not moved the iPhone to USB-C. It doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. There's a debate over the speed of Lightning, right? There's this a lot of people are saying, USB 2.0 speeds. Someone in the forum or in a comment I noticed today argued that actually Lightning is capable of USB 3 speeds. It's just that the female part on the iPhone only does USB 2, which is it's still Apple's fault, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So as a consumer, right, it would be so much better to have USB on the iPhone. It wouldn't make it any thicker. It wouldn't make it any more expensive. It doesn't make any sense that they haven't done it. My guess, because Apple always uses this kind of reasoning, is that there is an ecosystem of peripherals of some kind that rely on Lightning or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's going to be something, and plus the environment somehow. I'm not even going to try to make that argument. It's going to be something like that, but all you're doing is throwing a cable in the box. The other end of the cable is always USB-C now anyway. The plug is the same. It's one less thing to remember when you travel, when you're out in the world, or when you're we have to have 2 different cables in the car. It's just the dumbest thing in the world. I'll also predict, by the way, if this thing becomes law or whatever, that Apple will simply not make a change because Apple is Apple and they can't stand doing anything that they're forced to do, no matter how right it is. And what they will do is put an adapter in the box. And you'll have this stupid little nubbin thing that no one's going to use, and it will only be in the EU, right? That's because they're just belligerent, right?
The other thing
I hope it happens. But
the other thing I wish they would do, and they could even say this is for a green whatever, and it'd save some money. I wish that you could charge your Apple Watch on the back of your iPhone.
Yeah, and
Like you can on Android
The
devices.
iPhone does support reverse wireless charging, doesn't it? I think it does.
I think it does.
Yeah,
but
it must, right?
I mean,
I think it does.
It would make traveling so much
No,
easier.
it has to. It has to, because if you have like one of those MagSafe battery things, you could plug in the cable to the iPhone and it would charge the battery pack. I think, right?
I don't know. I've never done that.
I think it's two-way. But, and then okay, on the opposite side though, that means that the Apple Watch would have to support Qi wireless charging, which I don't know. Is that what it does?
But it does. It does. It's got its own little magnetic charger, so it's.
Yeah. So right. So it could. Maybe it's a size issue, like it's the smallest Qi charger plate, whatever it is, coil, would make the Apple Watch bigger. Maybe.
I don't know.
But yeah, no. That talking logic. We're talking about Apple. So. It's